They say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Now, the Bible doesn't come with any pictures, so there are a few sections that seem a little bit wordy to us. So this is one of those this week. We're reading in Exodus, and God's giving instructions for the tabernacle and its furnishings and how they're to be made. Usually we'd see a blueprint or something like that, but this is all spelled out very, very carefully. I'd encourage you to go ahead and download maybe some images or diagrams of what this looked like. It'll help you to visualize it very well. But what's basically going on is God is giving them instructions to build him a battle tent. Some kings would have these mobile palaces which would travel around with them when they were on a campaign. So God is traveling with his people as their God and king, and this is his tent, his home, as he's with them. We're also reading this week through the Proverbs. There's not much to add. There's just such a range of wisdom that's being offered over the course of this week. I can't speak concisely of it. Just enjoy day by day and digest this rich feast of wisdom that's offered. In Matthew this week, we begin with Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem, and then we have this strange act. He curses a fig tree and it withers. You say, now that's not really like him. But then you realize that it's a sort of object lesson for what he's doing in Jerusalem. He comes to the city, sees it's full of life, sees they enthusiastically welcome him. But as he looks closer, he finds that so much of it is just on the face of things, and really it's a city that is not prepared to welcome their king and the kingdom that he's offering. Similarly, he goes up to that tree. He sees that it's full of leaves, but when he looks closely, there's no fruit, and so he pronounces judgment on it. What he does throughout this week's readings are different ways of pronouncing prophetic judgment on the city of Jerusalem, a city that is unready. And so you see he cleanses the temple, he gives parables of judgment, he pronounces woes on the religious leaders of the time, he speaks of the impending destruction of the city. Finally, this week we're in Philemon. It's the shortest of Paul's letters. Now, there's a slave who escaped from his master who happens to be a friend of Paul's, and so Paul meets this slave. In the midst of that, he becomes a Christian, and so Paul sends him back with this letter. Now, Paul and the early Christians were not abolitionists in the sense that they were trying to get rid of the institution of slavery. They had no political power. But this letter makes it clear that the gospel undermines the very logic of slavery. It changes at the heart the relationship between the slave and master, so they are now beloved brothers, and nothing can be the same again.